You're listening to the My First Job podcast. I'm speaking to Vaibhav Garg, and he's spoken about what it's like to work on production lines and then transition into sales and figure out how to work in global markets and how to uh, travel and get things done in different places. And that's essentially what we'll be talking about in the final segment as we move into this, where we look at what does it mean to be in mechanical engineering at a production at an entry level, and then what are the prospects as you move up the line, and what kind of planning you can do in order to ensure that 30 years, 40 years, or 30, 35 years into a career, what are the things that are available to you? So, Weber, what are the entry level salaries that typically happen in uh, your business, and what are the kind of prospects for advancement?
So in New Zealand, starting or entry role would could sort of vary from 30,000 to 50,000 New Zealand dollars. I mean, that's when I sort of started off. One of my first jobs was $30,000, and yeah, like I mean, I think the good thing in engineering is you can always keep moving up the ladder if you have the right attitude, I guess. Um, and if you are willing to learn, there's salary is not the objective. I think at that time when you're a young engineer, cracking into the first industry, I think is definitely the key, and then just sort of developing and working through that, because I think a lot of younger like people, even my sister, she wants to get the top dollar now, whereas I think it's a bit of a step and work in progress, and then you sort of like work your way through these rounds, and then you get up to the positions, I guess, which you desire. And but it's a process, I guess.
So, when you talk to your cousins in India and back in India and out there, do they
Yeah.
think that salaries in New Zealand are much better than what it is in India? Obviously, the connection difference in the
Yeah.
pricing, of course, does make
Yeah.
a big difference.
It does, but I think the cost of living here is quite expensive as well. So it's the proportion to what I felt in New Zealand versus India. Like your salaries could be, if you convert that into New Zealand dollar into Indian, might look really big, but then your rentals and your car insurances and your electricity is a lot more
Yeah.
expensive as well. So the cost of living kind of like offsets your salary a little bit.
So-called, yeah, advantage that you have in terms of the overall, if you were just to consider base packages and then see where it's going.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of advancement, what were the kind of things that you focused on in order to ensure that you were your career was advancing, and in terms of a salary, you were looking at what were the things that you focused on in order to grow on the job?
I think it was a bit of a natural sort of progression. Like usually if I get interested in something and then I just sort of keep working through it, working through the motions. But a lot of the times in my career, I've been headhunted from a job to job. So it's not like I was looking for a change, but an opportunity presented itself on
Okay.
LinkedIn or Seek or Recruiter. And then I've just made that change organically. And it could be sort of like a time where usually this time of the year in New Zealand, kind of things start slowing down a little bit from December, Jan, Feb, March. And that's when I've usually changed my roles, I guess, because if things are getting a bit stagnant, it gives me a reason, I guess, to look for, not really look for, right? An opportunity just presents itself, and then I just take it on, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a pretty varied career, I guess. I started in the paper industry, then I moved to the dairy industry, then I did a bit of glass industry, then I was running an engineering consulting company, which was different, smaller FMCG players. So it's never been a shortage of like learning, I guess. I've just every day seems to be something new that I've learned in the last 10 years, which I guess keeps it pretty fresh and keeps it interesting.
So long term, would you prefer to work in a large company, or you like the entrepreneurial or the buzz of a small company? Which is, what do you think is, are
I
you
think
weighing stability versus long term prospects?